Domas is an all-star. Get him to the Bay.
Domas is an all-star. Double-doubles all day.
All the haters are gone. Only 'cause Domas is one of one.
Welcome back to the Kang Gang Pod, episode number 27.
Woo!
The Kings, absolutely. They casted spells on the Wizards. We won 123 to 100.
Hey, the Kings took the Wizards to a Waverly Place, and that was at Golden One Center. That's how we did it tonight. Let's go.
See ya, Hogwarts.
See ya, Hogwarts.
Dude, what? Let's just dive right in. So the Sacramento Kings, in the past, we would definitely have struggled against the worst team in the league. Even though there were some signs of it not being a cakewalk in the beginning of the game, we found a way to just stay poised, get to our spots, and end up winning by 20. Even when we weren't shooting the best, besides Keon Ellis, we got it done. What did you see, RT?
Well, I'll be left hand up. I didn't see the first quarter, but because there was some pigskin football going on, watching the last 2 minutes of the Ravens-Bills game. Mark Andrews selling on the 2-point conversion, dropping it right at the end zone. I mean, that is just brutal. But
my dad had the game on his phone at the arena. He was watching that play, and I glanced over and I was shocked. But let me just fill you in on the first quarter.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I heard a rumor that Domas had 14 points in the first quarter. Is that true, Cristo?
It's not a rumor, RT.
Is it true?
That is factual. He had 14 points, 7 rebounds.
Dude.
That's what I was gonna say. That's all you missed. Was just greatness. You missed greatness.
Dude, that's greatness right there. My God. And I heard he hit 2 threes too. Is that also true?
He went 2 for 3 for the game. Back-to-back beautiful threes at the top of the arc in classic Sabonis fashion. And he was just putting Alex Sarr, welcoming him to the league with just, dude, I felt bad for Sarr the way that Sabonis was going after him in the beginning of the game.
No.
But, I mean, that's what Sabonis does, especially coming off of a jersey retirement at Gonzaga. Let's talk about that for a second.
Man.
What an incredible career for Sabonis.
Yeah,
Take it away.
I have a story. I actually saw Sabonis play my freshman year when I was at UOP. In Stockton, and he came, and obviously, he had like short hair at the time.
Spiky hair.
Super spiky hair. And it was just, I remember sitting in the front row, and the dude was like very tall, like that. He was like the forefront. Like Sabonis was getting a lot of media attention. Gonzaga was playing well. I think they were ranked top 10 when they came to UOP that day. But I have to do some fact checking because I don't remember that game. I was a blur. But we kept the game close. I think we were up at halftime. We kept it to like a 5-point margin for the most of the part, and then like that second half, like Sabonis just took over. That whole team took over and just pulled away. So I just remember that was like my first memory of seeing Sabonis play, and I just remember seeing this guy just being able to rebound the ball so well. And now that he's back being a King, it's almost like a full circle moment that just basically happens. I was like, dude, this is so sick, just seeing like Sabonis in college and then seeing him in the NBA now. It's such a trip.
That's so cool that you got to have Sabonis grace your campus. I mean, I went to Cal State Fullerton, so I didn't get any too big names coming into Cal State Fullerton. Our team ended up playing, like, I think our biggest matchup was Markelle Fultz at the time. So that was our biggest matchup. It wasn't even at our arena. It was an away game. But seeing that, watching that live on TV was crazy. But let's just set the tone for what the Kings are doing right now. This is the 6th straight home win. The Kings are now back to 500 at home. When we had the worst home record, we instantly turned that around in a matter of weeks, and now we're back to 500. And Doug Christie is now 9-2 with the Sacramento Kings.
That's incredible.
And then in the last 10 games, we're 9-1. So what a turnaround it has been for the Sacramento Kings. And I love that Doug Christie always talks about in the post-game presser how important it is to win at home and how like the guys are buying in. And Keon Ellis could not have said it any better. The vibes are immaculate.
Amen.
Amen, Keon. Speaking of Keon, so last night well, this will be okay. Well, 2 days ago, when the people are viewing this, my good friend Tony, he was on Keon Ellis's Twitch live stream, and he messaged in the chat to Keon asking him how his ankle's doing, and Keon said it's good. So I think that was the first time where it came to light that Keon would be available for today's game because of the ankle injury that he suffered in the previous game stepping on Domantas Sabonis. So it was so amazing to see Keon healthy and active tonight because, my God, let's talk about that man for a second. He went crazy. He said, hey, I'm shooting tonight. He missed the first one, and then he makes 5 in a row. Unbelievable.
How was that like being in the arena for that? Wasn't that like a very cool moment just to see and all that stuff?
Yeah, because I was at the game when he hit nine threes. So I was at that game earlier this season, and then so I was in the arena tonight with my dad. He surprise visited from Vegas, and then so I was able to bring him to this game. And my dad has a great record coming into Golden One Center, so I knew we were going to win tonight because he was coming to the game with me. So
would you like to reveal your record, or you feel like that's like a little bit?
I don't know what his record is, but it's at least like 6-0. It's because he comes to like 1 or 2 a year, so it's like, but it's over a couple of seasons though. So
can he come here more often?
I know, I know. We need him to come more often. But so we were sitting right next to each other, obviously, and after Keon hits the first one, we go 1, and then it was like immediately he says hits the second one. Then he hits the third in the corner, all in that one quarter. And then the highlight of the game, my favorite moment of the game, is when De'Aaron Fox drives to the basket and gets tangled up with Jonas Valanciunas, jump ball. De'Aaron Fox versus 7-footer Jonas. He somehow tips it out to who else than Keon Ellis, step back 3 at the buzzer. Whew. And then that was his 4th 3 in a row. So that that was the highlight for me of the game. But yeah, Keon Ellis, the environment only in Sacramento will going against the worst team in the NBA feel like a playoff atmosphere. Like it was so loud in there for numerous different highlights during the game because there was a lot tonight. There's not really too much to cover in tonight's game, but there is a lot of highlights.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like player performances that were just
that's what I want to talk
kick
about.
Ass.
Exactly.
Yeah, just kick ass. Let's start with Domas first. The player of the game for me. I mean, just 29 points. He had 20 points in the first half, and it just, like you mentioned earlier, Alex Sarr, it was kind of like a welcome to the league moment for Alex Sarr. I like Alex Sarr, by the way. He's on my fantasy basketball team. I think he's going to be pretty darn good as like a good core young piece for the Wizards. But my God, this is the belt. This is kind of like, you know, how like who gave you that first, like the first player to give you that work, and it was like, I don't know if it's Steven Jackson, but it's a podcast, and it was like, I watched that today and I was just like, who was the first person that gave you that work? And you have all these players that, like, I'll probably be saying that Alex Sarr's first welcome, like, belt to, you know, ass moment was Domas. 6 total dunks, 2 of them that were just on Alex Sarr. Another one that he almost had that was almost a poster. He had like a foul. He got fouled pretty hard by Sarr in the third quarter, I think. And then that was kind of like, oh, you know, just he was so tired of it too. So, yeah, I mean, Domas was incredible tonight. And I know he didn't have enough assists because we're going to transition to that with De'Aaron Fox. He had 12 assists tonight.
No.
Oh, 13? Okay. So they gave him a...
Yeah, so
they gave him another one.
De'Aaron had his season high in assists in tonight's game with 13. Only scored 12 points, but this is a game where De'Aaron doesn't need a score. No. So for anyone out there that are saying, "Oh, De'Aaron's not," whatever people are saying about De'Aaron, this is one of his best games, and he was distributing the ball, and that was his main focus tonight. And I think De'Aaron had an excellent game.
Excellent game.
And Doug Christie said the same thing in the post game. He said this was one of De'Aaron's best games, even though we're accustomed to De'Aaron exploding for huge scoring outputs, but it was his distributing what stood out for him tonight.
I agree, and I think that also just a lot of that stuff a lot of those assists came off of Domas points too, where he was able to feed the ball inside to Domas. He was able to really penetrate and get into passing lanes, kicking it out to wide open DeRozan, to a wide open Keon, to a wide open Keon, and just using a lot of those like personal two-man games, just be able to just beat defenses that way. I was very, very impressed with De'Aaron Fox today. And I think that just shows that not only can also be like that's why like playmaking is so valuable, because playmaking is not necessarily scoring the bucket. A lot of times playmaking is making the right plays, being able to get your guys like into a rhythm. And tonight was just a prime example of that, where De'Aaron Fox was getting guys into a rhythm. I mean, you saw it with DeMar DeRozan. He had another great game. His mid-range looked very, very good today.
Oh, my God.
You saw that Malik Monk was able to get going to. Keon Ellis, like we talked about, 6 threes today. A lot of those came off of De'Aaron Fox assists. And so he was able to get his guys going without necessarily scoring the ball. And I think that's a very, very underrated part of his game that doesn't really get shined a lot. And so to see that happen today for De'Aaron Fox, I'm like, I just got to clap it up. That's just too good.
Yeah, because De'Aaron, obviously his shot wasn't on as it normally is, in tonight's game. So he was looking to get others involved. And like De'Aaron, he attracts so much on the defense. So that just gives open looks to everyone else on the court. So that's how everyone else was getting it going outside of De'Aaron Fox. But I want to backtrack to Sabonis, because
that's fair.
There's so many other things that happened with Sabonis. So he went 2 for 2 in the first half from the 3-point line. He's shooting 48% from the from the 3-point line.
Yeah, I was about to say,
which is number 1 in the NBA. But want to hear a crazy stat?
Keep it going.
Sabonis is on pace to be the first player in NBA history to have a season with 60% field goal percentage and 40% 3-point percentage. He would be the first person in the entire NBA. So obviously we have a full half season to go, but the way things are looking, Sabonis yet again has a chance of making NBA history.
Give him first team, man. Just give him all NBA first team. I mean, what are we stopping? What are we stopping him for? Just give him first team. I want to see a Sacramento. I don't think we've had a Kings player that made an all NBA first team since Chris Webber did.
Yeah, I was about to say, since him, no, definitely not.
Because DeMarcus Cousins was very close. He had like 2. He was like a second all NBA.
He was second all, right?
And it was like DeAndre Jordan made it over him one year, and then Marcus Gasol. I'm like, what were these people thinking at the time? But that's just another rant for another day. But
we Kings weren't winning then. Maybe that was factored in. But let's just say the Kings are just climbing the way that we are right now. There should be with the numbers that Sabonis is putting up, he should be very close. But hey, we'll save those talks for the end of the podcast, because we have something in store for you at the end. But let's move on over to Malik Monk, because my God, Malik Monk, 23 points tonight. The second highlight of the night was that Malik Monk windmill dunk to put the nail in the coffin to end the game, to bring in Doug McDermott and the boys off the bench, bring them in. That dunk was insane, and it happened on the hoop that's right in front of me in my section. So section
beautiful.
104 was going crazy for that.
That's beautiful.
But man, another thing we got to talk about Malik Monk. He just signed with Peak Sports, so he is now. It looks like he's the face of that brand right now. I mean, I don't know too much about Peak, but
I don't know that much either.
Those shoes are nice.
Those shoes are nice, and then the logo
is even nicer.
It's even nicer. I was like, oh man, this logo goes hard.
So if things go well with Malik and this Peak deal that they got going, we might have 2 Sacramento Kings players with signature shoes. I hope Peak. Hey Peak, if you're listening to this, I know we haven't met. I know nothing about your brand and your organization, but give Malik Monk a signature shoe.
I think it's also important for all those that are listening right now to buy into Peak stock, because when you have Malik Monk as your spokesperson, your main representative, and you're just trying to be a shoe company that's trying to just move on up in the world, Kings fans, just buy stock into Peak. I'm telling you,
that's a good point, because I remember Klay Thompson signed with Anta years ago, and I was like, what's Anta? And now Anta is one of the top basketball shoes in the game right now because of Kyrie Irving. So Malik might be starting something special with this organization. I saw he tagged the Instagram account with his post. They only have 14,000. So
that number is climbing up for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, this is a brand new company, it looks like. So shouts out to Malik Monk for he is diversifying his investment profile right now. I mean, he's done Pizza Guys, he's got Coors Light sponsorship, he's got Peak. Malik's doing everything off the court right now, and I love to see it.
Smart investments from him too.
No,
that's a wise businessman. He is.
Hey, we love Malik.
Yes, sir.
23 points tonight, and one of the dunks of the King season right there. Unbelievable.
That's more fancy points for me too. Let's go. I'll take that all day.
And then it's only right that we talk about DeMar DeRozan, because my God, this guy just continues to impress every single game. Like RT was saying, that mid-range is just insane. My dad and I, every time he scores, we just throw our hands up. We're he's just so good. And tonight, he made history. RT, tell the people what happened.
He is now officially 29th on the NBA all-time scoring list, passing the answer, Allen Iverson, which is crazy.
Which is so crazy.
Crazy, because Allen Iverson, oh my gosh, I could go on about how incredible Allen Iverson is.
At his position, one of the best bucket getters.
Crossing over Michael Jordan his rookie year. I mean, nobody.
The list goes on with
and
the
on.
Highlights of Allen Iverson.
Stepping over Tyronn Lue.
Cultural icon.
And just
Dennis Rodman, Allen Iverson.
Yeah, those
cultural icons.
I agree. There was a movie, I can't remember, but I'll just remember it. But yeah, I mean, just DeMar DeRozan just shows why that he has been able to do exactly what he's been doing for so long, and that's just get buckets, just be able to just get himself in that mid-range and live off of it. And 29th for 15 years is incredible. So, I mean...
and he's only going up. He's only going up.
He's going to pass Ray Allen very, very soon, too.
I mean, if you look at the list,
close.
I mean, he's
close.
He's going to keep climbing this season.
It's very close.
We got to talk about Kyle Kuzma, because obviously... Kyle Kuzma has been linked to the Kings for years and years and years, and I mean, normally when a guy has been his name has been listed in trade talks with the Kings, and then when they play against us, they normally have an audition tape. Well, let me tell you, I do not want Kyle Kuzma after watching what he did to us.
Nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Terrible game for Kyle Kuzma. I mean, this is a perfect segue, because outside of Kuzma, the two guys that the Kings are apparently the front runners for are John Collins and Cam Johnson. So my question for you, RT, is, if you were Monty McNair and you had that red button, who are you going after? And why?
Okay, so I think this is also kind of very important to understand the value of both Cam Johnson and John Collins, because both of them provide so much different value to a team. Both of them, have different contracts, obviously, and how they function. So I'll start with Cam Johnson first. I think there is basically the value point where the Nets are basically asking for 2 first-rounders for Cam Johnson, and I think that price is a little bit too expensive for me, especially just knowing that we don't have any players that we could also move in terms of the deadline without possibly giving up a Devin Carter. And at this point, I rather would keep Devin Carter. And I think to me that point is, although Cam Johnson would be really, really a good fit, he's been very much in and out of the lineup this year, dealing with injuries. And I just think that he has a ceiling that, in terms of just being our bench guy, just coming off the bench for Keegan minutes or DeRozan minutes, that's something I kind of would steer away from. So I'm not the
Wait, can I
biggest
pause you?
believer. Oh, hold on. Yeah, you go for it.
I was just going to say, so you think if we were to get Cam Johnson, he would come off the bench?
I would think he comes off the bench. Yeah,
Really?
he comes
Okay,
off the bench. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just was curious.
No, you're good because I think that because if we give up, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, those are two people that are going to be packaged in a deal. He would just eat both of those minutes, and then it would basically be like Jay Crowder also like coming off the bench too. So for me, I would probably for a guy, and the Dallas Mavericks have done it last year, right? We've seen it with PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. They made it work. But I just think that Cam Johnson, I think, would just ask for a starting role, and Keegan Murray and DeMar DeRozan both have pretty much locked up those wing spots for us. So I don't think we should really necessarily give up some of our pieces for Cam Johnson, especially for giving up first-round picks, because if stuff hits the fan, then those picks become very, very valuable unless we protect the picks. So that is something that I'm kind of like trending towards no with Cam Johnson. But to answer your question with John Collins...
Wait, before we jump into John Collins, my question is, since Malik Monk was the newest addition to the starting lineup, you don't think there's a world where DeMar would move to the 2, Keegan moves to the 3, Cam moves to the 4 type of thing?
I really don't, because
one, like, Malik is just thriving right now, and I feel like to bring him off the bench, like, I don't know if that would, like, rub him the wrong way or that would be a setback for the team. So that's another thing Monty has to think about, And I feel like that kind of goes along with any guy we trade for, right? Because I think John Collins would want the same thing. Like, he would think he would be a starter too. And like how you said DeRozan and Keegan have that spot locked, which would mean, is Monk the one going back to the bench when he's been having the best numbers of his career during this stretch?
I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why it's like, what are the Kings going to do? Because Kings are very active. And Monty, like when the ball is rolling, he wants to strike when the pan's hot. So like, I'm very curious what he thinks is the right move, because I think the reason why we haven't gotten Cam Johnson yet, or why no team has gotten Cam Johnson yet, is because the Nets asking price is way too high. Not just for you, RT. I think it's for the entire league.
A lot of executives,
like 2 first-round picks, that's a lot right now, especially with how these upcoming draft classes are looking. Like those draft picks are very, very valuable. So that's why 2. If people thought it was a good deal, they would have done it already, And the fact that it hasn't happened yet, with the deadline approaching in almost 3 weeks,
3-4 weeks, I think.
Yeah. So that's the Cam Johnson situation that is very, very, that's what's holding it back. Is if they want 2 picks, I don't know a world where it's going to happen.
I'm not doing it, but
let's talk about John Collins.
I was going to answer your question about John Collins. I think John Collins would be a very, very good piece for us on the other side of the spectrum, because John Collins has a cheaper asking price, and I think that he's also has time where he's came off the bench when he was in Atlanta, and then in Utah he's had games where he's came off the bench because even though he does start a little bit, because
he starts in Utah, but Atlanta
I think he came
off the bench in the beginning, but then he was pretty good. He was a starting forward.
Because I don't know his whole career basically, so it's kind of hard for me to gauge that, but understanding his play style, John Collins would be a very good fit. I think that he provides a lot of spacing. He's also a very capable post defender, shot blocker. He's 6'8", can be able to guard 1 through 5 at a pretty decent way. That can help us out, especially just in terms of just having another shot blocker in terms of our roster and being able to fit that. So, and I think the price is pretty cheap too, especially if we do decide to move on from her.
Cheaper.
Yeah, cheaper. That's why I said cheaper. But I think just if we were to move on from Lyles and Huerter, I think that could be a very solid deal where there's 2 players and we throw in a couple of other second round picks. I think that could get the job done.
So you're comfortable with moving away from Lyles as well?
I am. Wow. Because I think that John Collins plays a lot like Lyles, and he's younger. So that kind of does and he does have more energy in terms of rebounding too, because I think
he's still super athletic.
He's athletic too, and I think
Trey Lyles isn't jumping like that.
I'll tell you that. Yeah, and I just think that he's able to do a lot of. He's like a more athletic version of Trey Lyles. So
if you're the GM, and who is it? Danny Ainge over there?
Yeah, Danny
Ainge says, you know what? Train Kevin for John, straight up.
Yes.
Do you think that's all it would take? I think they would.
No,
they want second rounders at least right?
They won't want more, but I think that just like if there is a deal where it's just a no-brainer trade and there is an offer that is just too good to turn out, you got to take it if you're the Kings. And this just is for any trade piece that comes out. It's not just like the Suns recently got Nick Richards from Charlotte, and I think they only, I don't know what they gave up.
They gave up three second rounders and
Okogie, yeah. So in that terms of deals, I think that's a moment where the Suns were like, okay, this is a very sound deal. We need another big man to provide just what they need. So, and I think they just basically were like, no-brainer deal. So I think if you're the Kings, you got to look at that same situation, just understand that there are trades that you have to look at and be like, okay, is this a deal that we just like are so gung-ho on? If you do it, do it. If not, then that's okay. The team chemistry is at a very all-time high too. So that's another thing that's also into consideration too.
Yeah, because right now, like Keon said, the vibes are extremely immaculate over there in Sacramento in that locker room. So that's why I'm curious, like, bringing someone in, like how that would affect it, especially if they like intrude into that starting lineup right now, because they love what they got going on with that starting five, especially Malik Monk.
Oh my God.
I'm very, very curious to see what happens. I think this solidified the Kyle Kuzma talks. I think fans don't want Kyle. I don't think there's this guy next to me just trash talking Kuzma the whole game, and I was like, "This is hilarious." I'm like, "You say all of that. Imagine if he ends up on our team. I wonder if he'll still be saying that."
Yeah, I know.
But,
exactly.
Yeah. So I want to go back to that Wizards game because I want to talk about another highlight. Isaiah Crawford got his first NBA basket. Shouts out Crawford,
the crab. As they like to put emojis on, the crab emoji.
Yes. So he had a beautiful move, by the way. He had a little bit of a rondo where he gets down into the paint. He shows, turn around, shot. It was gorgeous, and the bench went crazy when he scored.
My God.
I love that he's wearing number 24 too, paying homage to Bobby Jackson, especially in that purple jersey.
Oh, that just looks so good.
It looks so good. But yeah, that was another highlight. And then my other highlight that was just so amazing to see. Alex Len hits a 3, which he ended up having more than Kevin Herter tonight. Alex Len shot the ball better than Kevin Herter tonight.
Crazy.
My God, dude.
Crazy,
so
man.
Funny.
It's what a world 2025 is. Just Alex Len hitting a 3 more than Kevin Herter.
I know.
That's crazy.
Poor Kevin, man. I'm feeling bad for Kevin because he was such an important piece to our team, and now it's like, dude, he's struggling to stay on the court.
It's fizzling out.
It's sad, man. It really is, because Kevin was a fan favorite, and now people are just not satisfied with what Red Velvet is putting on the table.
You know, with another person that just is doesn't make me satisfied and is one of the King's killers, Jonas Valanciunas, man.
Yeah, shouts out to him just for his performance.
Let's just talk about Jonas a little bit, because I firmly believe the reason why we couldn't beat the Pelicans last year is because Jonas Valanciunas was in so many of those games just being like a Domas canceller. Like, he negated so much of what Domas did, just being able to just match his physicality. I thought, because I watched that fourth quarter when he was out there, they cut it to 10. I thought they were going to keep him for the rest of the game, let Sarr basically sit and almost treat it like a close game situation where Jonas was going to bring him to a run. I was like, oh, here we go. But they basically are in tank mode, and they want to just be able to, get their young players going. So if Jonas is a possible buyout candidate,
a lot of teams are linked to him. And he does not want to be in Washington.
No, he does not.
So, dude, God. He had a monster game. He had over 20 points, and I think he had like 14, 15 rebounds, dude.
Yeah.
Whenever the Lithuanian brothers play against each other, man.
And it was in bench. And it was off the bench, too.
Off the bench.
Yeah.
And he's been playing off the bench the whole year, and he's just been thriving, dude. He's still got it. He moves so slow. His post moves are so slow, but he scores. He had some tough buckets over Sabonis and Len tonight. I mean, And he still shoots the ball pretty well, too.
Well, if we ever do a Kings Killer video list, he's definitely on my list for sure. He's on my list for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Kings found a way to get it done tonight. I mean, I think everyone knew we were going to win. It was just, the question was just, how are they going to win? Is it going to be like a blowout? Is it going to be a scrappy game where, we're going to have to rely on our stars to carry us? But it was a little bit of everyone. A lot of guys were in double figures tonight. I think six players were in double figures tonight. And it was just an all-around win. But the main takeaway from this game was Domantas Sabonis is an all-star. Perfect segue into our next segment on the Kang Gang Pod. It's almost all-star weekend coming up during that President's Week in February. Favorite time of the year, which means we will be hearing the all-star starters being announced later this week.
It's this Thursday, and then the rest of the reserves will be next Thursday.
Yeah, so a lot of exciting things to look forward to, because we are hoping and praying that the NBA gives Sacramento some all-stars, because last year, that was brutal. That was brutal not hearing one of our guys' names called. Not one. It was insane. I remember when they picked, was it Jaren Jackson over Sabonis, or was it Cat?
It's Cat. Yeah. Because that was the moment where there was Marcellus Howard. Shout out Marcellus. He was on the Starting Five Netflix documentary, and it was like, Karl Anthony Towns made it over Domantas Sabonis. A man who's averaging a triple-double is not an all-star. And that clip blew up.
We cannot let that happen again.
Can't let it happen again.
So, RT, my question for you is, can you reveal your all-star ballot?
Ooh, it is that time. So, here's how we are going to reveal our ballots. So, we are going to obviously start in the East, because we want to keep the West for all of you guys just to enjoy all of the ballots. So, I'm going to start off with my starters first. So, my starters are Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt. I have Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Karl Anthony Towns in my front court.
Wow.
I have two Knicks in my starting lineup for the East, and rightfully so. Jalen Brunson is definitely a fan favorite. He's been playing lights out this year, and it just seems like he's been very consistent with what he's been doing. Fan favorite. But Karl Anthony Towns has been playing some of the best basketball of his career. That trade to in the offseason with Minnesota to New York has definitely really, really helped him out so much. I mean, he's basically right behind Domas he's second in double-doubles. He basically is also second in rebounding. He's shooting at a very high percentage. He's basically the second best player on the court. And there's times where Karl Anthony Towns, when Jalen Brunson doesn't have it, Karl Anthony Towns looks incredible. And it just feels like he's just playing at such a very good level. Karl Anthony Towns, I think, is just a shoo-in for that front court spot. So you can argue there's other guys in the backcourt too besides Brunson. I mean, Mitchell's a lock, but Giannis, Tatum, I feel really comfortable with those two.
I love your starting five. I'll reveal my starting five as well. We pretty much had everyone the same. We had Kat, Tatum, Giannis. Got to put Donovan Mitchell. That's got to be a lock. He's just first in the East. And then, as much as I love Brunson, you said that he's the fan favorite. I think this guy is the NBA favorite. The Ball family is on top of the world right now. I mean,
rightfully so.
The Ball family is on top of the world. Obviously, the Hornets. I mean, like Shaq said, I view it like Shaq does. I mean, these guys are individual performances as all-stars. It doesn't necessarily need to result in winning, although winning does factor in some of my choices, but for this one, it just doesn't, because LaMelo Ball has just been flashy, scoring at an insane level, passing incredibly. His averages this year are through the roof. I mean, get this guy a better situation, and he will be doing the same thing, but it will actually result to wins. So I think LaMelo Ball. I've been a Ball fan. I used to watch him at Chino Hills High School when I went to Cal State Fullerton. Me, Justin, and John, we'd go over there and watch this man play, because he's box office, and it's his time. It's the Ball. It's the year. Alonzo says it's the year of Jello. It's the year of the Ball boys.
Hey, I like that.
I'm putting LaMelo in the starting five.
That's fair. That's a fair argument. I think that, to me, at the end of the day, I am on the opposite side of you where I do value winning.
Yeah.
As like for someone that is a starter, there's not a lot of starters that have been all-star starters besides like Kobe Bryant and like other greats that were basically
LeBron last year.
LeBron last year.
Seed.
Yeah, ninth seed. Yeah, but even then, it's like they don't really give starters to like 13, 14 spots. I know, but this is
But hey, if you look at the voting,
he is.
they
He's up
want
there.
him up there too.
So we'll see. Thursday is going to be the game, the decider right there.
I'll just laugh if he gets there.
Right.
I'm not expecting him to, but if he does, it'll be great.
You'll nail it. But I'll go ahead and go into my reserves now. So for my reserves, my 2 guards are Trae Young and then Damian Lillard. For my forwards, I have Evan Mobley, Jaylen Brown, and Jarrett Allen. And then my 2 wild card spots, I went with Cade Cunningham from Detroit. He's been absolutely balling out. And I had to put LaMelo Ball in there. I had to put LaMelo Ball as my last wild card.
I didn't even realize you didn't say him till wild card. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, you're valuing winning. So you're Charles Barkley in this situation, and I'm Shaq.
That's right.
For my reserves, I put Jalen Brunson, love him to death, Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown, Evan Mobley, and call me crazy, but I put Pascal Siakam in there.
Ooh,
I know.
Yeah. Because I don't hate that.
Because
I don't hate that.
He's the best one on the Pacers. Okay?
I don't hate that.
He's the best one on the Pacers. I'll say it.
I don't hate that.
I'll say it with my chest.
I like that. I agree.
And then my wild cards, Cade Cunningham and Trae Young.
That's a very solid list.
So basically, we picked. Only person that I didn't choose was what's his name?
It was Jarrett Allen, yeah.
And then you didn't put Pascal Siakam.
But I did mention that Pascal Siakam, he is an honorable mention for me. Because like you said earlier,
who are your honorable mentions?
I'll get into those, but while I do that, I think Pascal Siakam has definitely has been the catalyst for turning around that team. I mean, they were the 9th or 10th seed, and then they're going
exactly like us.
They're like us right now, so which is nice. But my other honorable mentions are Jalen Johnson. I think he's the front runner for most improved this year. He's been the second guy right behind Atlanta. I just think it's a little bit tough to have 2 guys in Atlanta just based off record alone. Franz Wagner is another guy that also didn't make my list, along with Paolo Banchero. They haven't played enough games for me to make that. And I also have Tyrese Maxey on there too. So Tyrese Maxey has been pretty good this year.
A great season.
So unfortunately, those guys just missed out just based off of being injured and also just not like meeting their team performance too.
I'll add one more guy to that list. I think Zach LaVine. He bounced back here, balling. Obviously, not really resulting in wins that much. I mean, they're not too far behind us. But Zach LaVine has been having a great year.
Yes, he has. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
let's go. This is
all been waiting for.
This is what we want to hear.
The West All-Stars. This is our conference, and today you'll find out if we have 1, 2, 3 or 4 or 5 stars, all-stars. But I'll start off with my list first. So my starters are going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry. This game is going to be in the Bay Area. I just think that Curry's...
There's no way he's not a starter.
He's not a star. I mean, there's no way.
Even if they were 14th in the West, he'd be a starter.
He'd be a starter, man. Yeah, you just got to lock that in. Another guy that's also a starter, LeGoat James. I mean, that's just... he's a lock for sure. Yes, he is.
Of course.
Yes, he is.
Of course.
You can't argue with me with that.
I'm not arguing. I put him there too.
And then my other 2 guys are Kevin Durant and Nikola Jokic.
Wow. Okay, ours are a little different then. I put Shai, of course, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic.
Oh, can I guess your last spot? Victor Wembanyama.
Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he has to be a starter. I mean, although they took our previous spot in the standings at number 11 or 12, that man, my God, he's going to be one of the best players we've ever seen.
Demigod.
So I think he will be a starter.
He's a demigod, man.
It pains me more than anything not to put any Kings in the starters, but we're being as realistic as possible. But those are our starters.
I think it's honest, too, because I think that a lot of people also kind of agree with that, too.
Yeah,
I think the only one that's kind of different is Kevin Durant versus Wembanyama. But I would agree with that list. I think that's a very fair list. I think that's very standard. But I will go with my bench now. So my bench is Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic. He'll still be, I know he's dealing with an injury, but I still think that he'll get the credit that he still gets because he has been, before the injury, just been playing out of his mind. I do have Victor Wembanyama also on this list. I have Anthony Davis and then Jaren Jackson Jr. The Grizzlies are the 3 seed. Jaren Jackson's been the best player on that team, especially with John Morant being in and out of that lineup. I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. has been playing super well enough to just earn that all-star spot. And he's been a previous all-star too, so I think that's a very well-deserved spot. And with my wild cards, this is the moment of truth. For my first wild card, I have Alperen Şengün. And with my second wild card, the man that you see, the jersey number that you see on my shirt, Domantas Sabonis.
Thank you so much for
but
that.
I also, not only do I have the injury, I also have an injury replacement because I do not think, I think that Luka will also be out. My injury replacement is going to be a guy that's 6'3". Yes. That's from Kentucky.
I was about to say, I was so shocked.
That's from 6'3". But let's be fair, they'll get disrespected at one point, but that's not the case because at 6'3" from Kentucky, drafted 5th overall in 2017, I got to go with my guy De'Aaron Fox as the injury replacement for Luka.
I just can't picture a world where a guy scores 109 points in 24 hours and does not make the All-Star team.
That's how Cat got in there last year.
That's what the NBA will most likely do to us. There will be some heartbreak. But on the Kang Gang pod, I don't think there's going to be a heartbreak. Because let me tell you who are my reserves. I'm putting D Fox as one of my reserves.
I like that.
I'm putting Anthony Edwards. I hate this guy so much, but he's got to be on there. Anthony Davis. He's been having a crazy year. Kevin Durant. And Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a walking history book because his name just gets etched into each page as games go on. So Sabonis has to be an All-Star this year. He has to. Wild cards. Alperen Şengün.
I like that.
And then, I didn't put Luka on here because of the injury thing, because he's missed so many games, but he's going to make it still. And so Luka's on this list as well, but again, I don't think he's going to play, and I think he's going to have a replacement, and that replacement will most likely be one of the Grizzlies, Ja, or Triple J. So those are my guesses.
Okay.
And then my honorable mention, there's a lot, obviously.
There's a fair amount.
One guy I just want to give a shout out to, the guy who I love using in 2K. What was it, 2K18, 2K19?
No, I know you're gonna say that's my honorable mention too.
Norman Powell.
You used to give me nightmares every time I play against you, man.
I would. Me and RT would play 2K, and then I would have the Portland Trail Blazers, and I wouldn't use Dame, and I would just use Norman Powell and drop a 50 ball on RT. But yeah,
ridiculous.
He's definitely one of my honorable mentions.
He's also one of my honorable mentions too. I do also want to give another honorable mention to a lot of the other guys too, because
there's so many.
There's a lot of them. So
I'll let you take it away.
So my other honorable mention is also from the Clippers, James Harden. He's been playing super, super well.
Would you be shocked if he got on to the actual team?
I would not be shocked because James Harden definitely has been deserving of that. The Clippers are right now the 5th seed.
I know.
And because LA is such a very big market too, I would not be surprised if James Harden makes it because of just how well he's been playing, name notoriety, all that stuff.
The name notoriety is big.
It's very big.
It's big. So that's why I'm thinking he might slip in there.
He might slip in. So that
even though because his numbers aren't eye popping throughout the page, but I mean they're still.
I mean, he's averaging 21.
I know,
which is pretty good, especially because
with the
last 2 years he was averaging under 20, and so
his numbers are obviously inflated without Kawhi, but I think Norman was just the guy that was just like. When you thought of the Clippers, you thought about what he was doing, you know?
And that's fair.
Yeah.
And that's fair too.
But obviously, James Harden should be an honorable mention, of course. But I don't know. I'd like to see some new guys on the All-Star team.
I get that. Well, and speaking of new guys that could potentially make it for their first time, one of my honorable mentions is Jalen Williams from the OKC Thunder, otherwise known as J-Dub.
Wow.
He's basically been their second best player, especially with Chet Holmgren being out. Just being very consistent in terms of just doing what he needs to do. And the OKC Thunder have the best record in the West. I would not be surprised if also Jalen Williams gets in based off of that, because I know I've had 3 Cavaliers.
Wait, Jalen
Williams, J-Dub.
Oh.
Yeah, J-Dubs.
When I heard it, I was like, wait, that sounds
J-Dub. Yeah,
yes,
J-Dub.
Yes.
J-Dub. You're good. And there's 2 Jalen Williams.
I know. That's why I was like, wait, are you saying him? I was like, he's not an all-star.
No, but J-Dub has been just fantastic. I mean, he just basically does whatever he needs to do, averaging over 20 points, basically just balling out of his mind.
So when you say honorable mention, you mean the guys are like knocking on the door?
Knocking on the door.
So then I want to put Jalen Green on there too. I think he's knocking on the door as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't have him on my list, but that's a very good one.
Who's more valuable to the team outside of Sengun? Him, Jalen Green, or Van Vliet?
I'd say Jalen Green.
Yeah.
I think Jalen Green's like having a really good season.
He's a guy you could just give the ball and he could go get a bucket, you know? Yeah.
Another guy that you can also give they can get a bucket to that also is an honorable mention for me is Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, obviously.
Kyrie Irving is also going to be like a big name. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyrie Irving makes it too.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, because he didn't make it last year, right?
No, he didn't make it last year.
I think, people would like to see him at an all-star event.
Yep.
I know. The guys that have just been legends in the game for so long, it's very hard to not put them on the list. But I think kind of like people our age are just kind of getting to the point where we kind of are rooting for the young guys too.
Yep.
So that's why I think we're always putting in guys that you don't normally see in an all-star uniform.
Yeah, and then my other last honorable mention is Ja Morant. I mean, he's also, and again, he's missed time, but he is a box office entertainment. Yeah. I mean, he just is electric. Basically, when you search his name, he has like 3 million views on House of Highlights.
But that dunk over Wemby, that might push him. That might push him to the All-Star.
That might be the one.
Even though it didn't count, it might push him over the hump.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, Ja's not better than Fox. So.
He's not. So, and you can argue with a wall. But leave your comments based on your All-Star ballot. Who do we miss? What are some players that you feel like that could also be All-Stars? And also, how many All-Stars for the Kings do you have in your All-Star ballot? Let us know in the comments.
I've been voting for Fox, Sabonis, and DeRozan every day.
Oh, I know. Me too.
I mean, obviously we won all 3. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think we're going to get one at least.
At least one.
At least one.
I'd love to, but there's no way the Kings are getting 3 unless we go on a magical run and we win all the way out until All-Star break. Then we might get 3.
And then we win out like next week, and then that would be so beautiful.
Yeah, if we go on like another 7 or 8 game win streak, you might have to put him in.
3 seed bare minimum, but
because DeRozan deserves some votes. But I don't know if he's gonna.
No,
they're gonna put him in. I'd love it, but
I wish. But what can you do?
Nothing. But with that being said, that was Kang Gang Pod episode 27. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, please hit that subscribe button. We are so close to hitting our next milestone of 600.
Yes, very close.
If you want to see the Kang Gang continue to grow, thumbs up the video and hit the subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching.
And also follow us on Instagram too. We're also very close to 800 followers on Instagram too. So please follow us there too, because we post reels, we post a lot of fun content on there and relatable stuff. So any chance you can help us out, just give us an opportunity just to help build our community and of course build the Kang Gang. So we very much appreciate it. And with that, we are out.